going to do a Q&A with for anyone who wants me to talk more about nutmeg. If doing an hour and 45 video about nutmeg wasn't enough, now's your chance to get even more nutmeg material. And also along the way, I have a beverage, which is a Hawthorne Vinegar. Check that out. I picked this up. It's been sitting in my fridge for a while. I think now is the time. Also, we have an African Shadic, which I believe is a kind of pomelo relative that Stephen Murray, my friend Stephen Murray, gave me. And also, I've got a bunch of little Guavas. I don't think these got a proper introduction yet. These are a variety of different species of Guavas that were sent to me by Brian, who has the raindanceseeds.com. So he sent me a bunch of things in the mail. These he wasn't sure what the species of these were, but that they are different species. So I just dropped a couple. That's good. So yeah, we'll do that as we go along. First off, all this running around, getting this video going, kind of parched me a little bit. So we're gonna go for the vinegar. Let's go straight to it. And how I'll do things with the Q&A. Feel free to ask a question. I'll take a look through here to answer as much as I can. If you do a super chat, I will give those priority, but you do not need to give me money to have your question answered. Okay, so Hawthorne Vinegar. That smells like vinegar, like straight up like apple cider vinegar. I like it. This tastes like apple juice, but with a little bit of a extra vinegary bite to it. It's kind of like an apple kombucha kind of flavor. Not too bad. I wouldn't say it's as much as like apple cider vinegar. You know, some people just drink shots of that, but it's got like a little bit more bite to it than just like regular apple juice would. But it's Hawthorne, and Hawthorns are, they kind of taste like if you were to mix apples with maybe a little bit of like a berry flavor, like a strawberry or something. Like this, I'm not really getting the berry though. Yeah, that's good. That'll keep me going. So let's answer some questions. So before I even started this stream, the failed stream that I tried to do prior to this, someone asked, I forget who it was, but they asked if I managed to find any nutmeg species besides your typical nutmeg. So here, I'm going to move you for 1 second so you can see me a little bit better. There we go. That's better. Sorry if I made you guys dizzy. So this is a regular nutmeg with the shell taken off of it. This is Myristica fragrans. So this is the kind that you get in the Band Islands. So if you watch the nutmeg documentary that I made, I'm going to call it a documentary. I don't know if you can really call it that. It's like a YouTube video and a documentary like together. So we'll call it that. But yeah, documentary I made on nutmeg. This is the main one. You know, this is the one that was growing in the Band Islands. And as you can see, it is round. But when I went to and spoilers, by the way, if you didn't see the nutmeg video, you may want to do that before joining in on this stream because I'm going to spoil some of the things that happen. But yeah, I go to the K Islands where the people who grew nutmeg originally escaped to. And when I was there, most of the nutmeg that I was seeing was actually not this one. People were growing nutmeg there, but it wasn't this. They had this also, but it was not the most common one. The most common one was actually one that made a little bit more sense for the area, and that was long nutmeg. So long nutmeg is this one here. Now this one has the shell on it, but you can get an idea even so that the long nutmeg and the regular nutmeg are a different shape. So when you pop this guy open, it's going to be long. This one, as you can see, is quite round, and the one that has the shell on it, you know, if you watch the video, it's got like a roundish shape even with the shell on it. So this is a different species. I don't remember off the top of my head what that species is. I apologize. I just ran and grabbed these because I saw that question. But but they're different species. And this is what they were growing in the K Islands. And that makes sense because this is native to Papua, both West Papua and Papua New Guinea, which are very close to the K Islands. The Banda Islands, where this is being grown, makes sense that it would be a different shape because it's a different place. So this is actually being grown closer to West Papua than to Banda. So yeah, kind of interesting. And when I was researching this, I did see one article that said that when the Bandanese escaped, originally, some of them escaped to West Papua, where they tried to help the West Papuans in the long nutmeg trade, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure how true that is, but I only saw it one place. But yeah, there are two species right here. But there are more. There are a lot more. Griffin, who is moderating, thank you very much, Griffin. And you're saying a long nutmeg is Myristica argentea. Myristica argentea, Myristica fragrans, right there. So Griffin also said earlier that there is one that grows in Australia. That one is not supposed to taste very good, and to kind of give a sign of just how good that must taste. I've never had it, but the scientific name of the Australian one is Myristica insipida. Sounds pretty insipid. So yeah, people don't usually use that one, but it is something that I believe you can find as like a landscaping plant in Australia. Haven't had it. I went to Australia. I didn't see it there, but maybe in the future I would try that. So here's two. I actually have one more though from India. This is Myristica malabarica. And Myristica malabarica is sometimes, historically at least, I don't think anymore, but at some point they would take this and use it to adulterate the Bandanese one. So they would take this because it's cheaper, but doesn't have as much of a flavor to it. They would grind it up and mix it with the Bandanese nutmeg, which was more expensive. But now, because these are more rare, I don't know if this is any cheaper or not. But I actually picked this up in India, and I'm going to be making a little side quest video that is about this one, as well as the long nutmeg and another one also, which I want to give some suspense here. So, there's other ones that I also found, and there are also a bunch of things that are like called nutmeg that are not nutmeg. There's something called African nutmeg. It's used in West Africa. It is not nutmeg whatsoever, but I guess maybe it tastes similar. Not too sure. Okay, so I'm going to answer a question here. Great question, Griffin. That is, that Griffin didn't answer that. Great question. Whoever asked that, I didn't see the name. Okay, so let's see here. I don't see any super chats, so let me just kind of scroll in here a little bit, get a question. That's not a question. That's a lot of very interesting statements here, but I don't see one question mark. Did I smear Vaseline on my camera? Yes. That's trying to find question marks here, and that is the only one. Oh, Bill Thames just gave a super chat. Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you very much. No question there, but a very thrilled looking sticker there. Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate that. And Bill is a super patron. You may notice his name when I sign off the videos as a thank you to Bill T. There's Bill. Thanks, Bill. So Sergeant Groove, thank you for the super chat. Says, aloha. I'm curious if questions should only relate to nutmeg here or if any fruits are okay. Other topics in general. I'm sorry that you wasted a super chat on asking what kind of questions you should ask. I'll look out for your name for the next one. You can ask me anything, guys. I think asking a question about nutmeg, now is a good time to do it. Okay, but if you have another question that you're dying to ask me that has nothing to do with nutmeg, I'd be happy to answer that too. But yeah, I'd like to take this opportunity to address issues or address questions that came up from watching my hour 45-minute episode on nutmeg. Okay, Blanche sent a super chat. When did you realize the Nutmeg Story was going to turn into something bigger than your normal content? So here's the thing with the nutmeg is I actually made an entire video, an entire episode that I did not post. It's maybe like a half an hour long. And so I actually finished an episode. I'm going to put it up for Patreon supporters. I'm not going to put it on the channel because it's just a less good version of the what you saw. But I actually kind of cannibalized a lot of the material from that 30-minute video to make the hour and 45-minute video. So that one is just the first trip, just the trip to Malaysia. And I went, if you watch the video, I went to Southeast Asia 3 times. So the first one only talks about the fruit. It only talks about the juice. I talk about other products as well, like the medicine I go into a little bit more. Nutmeg candy I review. I find a jam also in Malaysia, but it's not super common, but I did find one person selling it. So I talk about that. And the history parts of it are done in a completely different way. So I didn't go to the Banned Islands, but I read about it. I researched a lot about it because I wanted to tell the story. I just wanted some fun facts, like how it is in the video. That's no lie. Like I wanted to give some fun facts. So I researched and I came up with I don't know, maybe like 15 minutes of history, just talking to the camera like I'm doing it now, like just talking about nutmeg history. I did it in front of my my bookshelf over there. I put on my cheesy like ringmaster kind of jacket to kind of look like a smoking jacket, thinking it'd be like Masterpiece Theater. Patreon supporters get to enjoy that. That's not a reason to join Patreon. I don't know what is. Get to see me wear my silly jacket, but I just talk about it. I just say it verbally, like what I was reading, and I got to the point of like making that video. And usually I do like 3 passes. I'll go through and put like all the footage together. Then I'll go through again, put all the music in. I'll put in any voiceover and stuff like that. I'll do that in the second pass. And then I'll go over it one more time to put everything together so it's complete. And then I'll like do a final review to fix any errors. So, and usually in that final go through, I do change quite a bit. So I got through like those 3 first stages with it. It was like basically a complete episode. I would probably go over it like one more time and tweak a few things. It was a finished episode, almost like 90% done. And I was just like watching it back to like make my final edit. And I'm like, this is wrong, like this is wrong to like look at me in my stupid smoking jacket and talk about a horrible tragedy like that. Like it was bringing like levity to something that I felt needed respect. So I felt like the video I was going to put out, like even though it's history, it's like so long ago, I didn't realize the people are still around. It just felt it just felt wrong. Like this was not a time to be funny. Like it was like I try to keep things light on the channel, and I was just like, yeah, I think this isn't really it. And, I had, there was like some things going on with my life also where, I was just like thinking like, yeah, like this is disrespectful if I'm going to just put it out like this. So I wanted to go on another trip and I was going to go somewhere else. I was thinking of going to like South America or something, but instead I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go deep on this. I'm just going to keep going and flesh this out and make it something big rather than just, a typical episode. So and that was like over a year ago, because this took me almost 3 years to make. So it was maybe like a year and a half ago that I made that decision and I started planning out a second trip. So it was around then. It was like finishing an episode and watching it back and being like, this isn't right. Let's go in more and do this with bring a little bit more respect to the story. And, also in researching and giving just like my little talking head history, I was fascinated. I was just like, this is so much bigger than I thought it would be. So yeah, I wanted to learn more and actually go there. Good question. Very good question. So let's see. I don't see any other super chats. So let me see if we got another question here. Okay. What nutmeg recipe do I like most? All right. I would say one of my favorite things that I've come up with recently is I've taken mace, just like the arrow that would be around the seed, which I find has got a little bit more of a bright flavor to it. It's a little less nutty and earthy, and that is actually one of the key ingredients in Coca-Cola. And I love Coca-Cola, but I don't like to drink too much of it. It's like too heavy. So what I did is I took the mace and I put that in a bunch of vodka to extract the extract from it. And I've been using that in just like half a teaspoon in like a bottle of seltzer water, and it tastes kind of like Coca-Cola. It's not doesn't have all the elements of Coca-Cola. There's other things in Coca-Cola, but it gives you that sort of special flavor that Coca-Cola has. So yeah, that's my favorite thing to do with nutmeg. Okay, other questions about the nutmeg documentary of sorts. Okay, people are talking about Mr. Beast. Let's not do that, guys. What is your favorite? Lala, what is your favorites? What is your favorite part about nutmeg history? I don't know. It's a big. My favorite thing is just finding out that the history is still going. It's not the first time I was reading about it. Making my first pass at this, I was I didn't realize that the people who were producing nutmeg long ago were still around. So just learning about how this history is so big, it continues to go, is pretty incredible. And there's more. Like with nutmeg, I could make like a 10-episode series. Like going in all the different directions. Like the Nutmeg's Curse, that book that I read, is not what you'd expect. It's got a lot to do with drawing a parallel of what happened in the Band Islands with other cultures, including the U.S. and like Native Americans. Like there's so many that goes in like a completely different direction, which was I was not expecting that. I thought it was going to be a history book, and it draws like this makes like a draws a complete parallel with other things that are happening in the world. So that's a whole other world. Then there's also like what happened with the legacy of nutmeg, like what John Townsend's does, say what he's talking about, like this is how it was in the 18th century. Like that's a whole other world right there. And then nutmeg in Grenada, like Grenada, one of the places that England brought nutmeg to grow, not just Penang and Sri Lanka, but Grenada. They took it and ran with it. It's like on their flag is a nutmeg, and they use it in a lot of different ways. So like I could make at least a whole hour episode on just nutmeg in Grenada. That's kind of an interesting thing to talk about. In Grenada, I looked online to see like what kind of products they're doing with people are using nutmeg in Grenada. And it's very different. They went a different direction. So it's kind of like a little bit more like food from the Caribbean. So they make like a jerk sauce with it. They make like hot sauce with it. They make syrups with it. It's used in a different way, which is I think pretty interesting. I'd like to go to Grenada and like see where else this can take me. I saw another question. Yellow Panther, thank you so much. Why don't you do vegan restaurant reviews on YouTube like you do on Facebook? So that's a good question. So for those who are not subscribed to me on Instagram or on Facebook, a little side project that I do is, living in New York City with so much diversity. I have taken a project where I will eat at restaurants from every different country, and So I've been to every kind of country you can imagine, like has a restaurant in New York City. Just about at this point, I'm past 90. I think I've been to like 91 or 92 different restaurants from different countries. So it's been a really cool project. I'm just doing it for fun. Like I'm not making videos about it because I feel like I don't want to make everything in my life a video. I want to like go and just like enjoy it. But I think it's interesting enough to just like take a photo and put it online just to show what that looks like. And I did consider it making videos about it, but I think if I were to do that, I would team up with someone else to do it. There are at least two different bloggers in New York that are doing the same thing. One of them is Eat the World, very very useful. They've been doing the same thing, going to different restaurants. They're not going vegetarian. They're having like with meat. Me, I'm going to places that are not specifically vegetarian, but finding vegetarian food. But adds another challenge to it. But I think if I were to do it, I would do it that way. That way, I can have a different perspective to it and not just show vegetarian food, but show like what they're eating as well. Because sometimes I'm very limited to what I can eat, and it's another reason why it's like, do you want to see a video where I'm like only eating a cookie because that's the only thing I can eat on the menu? It's like I think it'd be maybe more interesting to do it with somebody else. But I don't have time, so I need to do it with somebody else who's willing to be in the videos and also edit the videos, and have me as like a co-host rather than a host. Because this, if you haven't realized it by the lousy quality on my live stream, this is a one-man operation. I do everything myself, all the editing, all the research, all the filming, all the traveling, all the planning, all me. So I'm kind of like spread as thin as can be, and I've got another job. So okay, I think I saw another super chat fly by. Sirius Grunk, thank you so much. Would really love to see you continue incorporating history into these longer docu-style videos. It was really interesting and eye-opening. Well, thank you very much. And I'm planning on doing that. With the history-based episodes, it just takes a lot more time. I've recently went from posting at any given time, I've posted as many as like 1 to 3 different episodes a week. And at the current time, I'm now doing 1. And I don't think I'm going to do more than 1 a week anymore, except for maybe like special occasions. And I'll keep putting like, I'll do like a short a week and a long form a week is kind of the plan. And that's because I want to do more episodes like that. I want to put more history in it. I want to do more backstory on it. And instead of putting like 1 video out a week, that's going to be short and just like me eating something, it's going to be 1 video a week that's going to have maybe several different species of that thing and more of the background on it. Something that's going to be more 15-minute videos and less 5-minute videos, unless I feel it stands well enough on its own. Like the one I posted this morning with the pepper and the cat, I'm like, that cat was just like so adorable. I felt like if I were to make a video where after that I did another video or had like another pepper, it would kind of like ruin that moment. So I kept it as a standalone one. So that I kind of debated on making that a 15-minute episode because I have another pepper that I found in the Maluku Islands. So speaking of cats, I've got my co-host right here. She's going to join me. If anyone has any questions for the cat, you are welcome to ask her as well. But just so you know, she doesn't care what's going on. Okay, so now I'm seeing a lot of hearts. Lots and lots of hearts are happening. And Vostok, I hope she knows that she's loved. She is a very, very happy little cat. Okay, so let's see here. Let me scroll up to where we were. Okay. Will you be doing your contortionist show on a cruise ship again? It was fun seeing your colleagues hating Noni. McKipper asks if I'm going to be doing cruise ships for my show. Yeah, for those that don't know, my day job is I'm a contortionist and circus performer. So I usually am traveling around a lot, and I was doing some cruise ship gigs. So some of the videos on the channel are things that I found while I was working on a cruise. I don't have any coming up. No, it might happen again. The problem with cruise ship gigs is that they usually want you for at least a month, and that doesn't really work. You know, I've got this cat to take care of. Look how happy she looks. I've got this cat to take care of. I've got, to make these videos. There's a lot going on. So because of that, it's difficult for me to get away long enough to do a cruise contract. So no, but I do have actually some videos coming up from the last one I did. So that I'm trying to think of like what I found. Nothing really all that notable, honestly. But I did make a video in Puerto Rico though, it was fun to go there. I didn't really find anything super interesting, but I got to like explore Puerto Rico. So I did make a couple of videos there. But yeah, no plans to go on a cruise ship anytime soon. Let's see here. More questions. People saying I should do another documentary on black pepper. Yeah, black pepper's got all the spices. Like all the spices have an equally intricate and dark history to them. So yeah, I can go with that. I think the next big deep dive I'm going to do is not going to be on a spice. I'm thinking of going into I don't want to give it away, but a fruit that may or may not actually even exist. I'm really intrigued with like the sorts of fruit that show up in folklore and legends, and like like the Coco de Mer was a kind of like the perfect combination of that because it was something of legend that also existed. I think those are really interesting. So yeah, I kind of want to go. I think I might go in that route for the next one, unless something else captures me. But that's not going to be for like a year, 2 years from now. About 2 years from now, will be the next big deep dive. Every like milestone, like 100, 200, 300, I do a big episode. So that's why you got this hour 45 nutmeg video. So I'm already thinking about the next one, just because they take that much time to do. Like nutmeg took over 2 years to make. The next one, I'm looking at it now because the next one would be in about 2 years from now. I'm seeing a lot of just words. Peppermint, miracle berry. These are words, not questions, but I do like peppermint. I have made an episode on miracle berries. Are you still working as a contortionist? Yes, I am. These days, the channel is I'm doing more on the channel than I am as an entertainer. But it depends as the year goes on. Like right now, it's the winter time. I'm not doing a lot of gigs right now, but summertime I'm working like a few times a week. So right now my job is making videos. Okay, so loquat fruit is a question that I've reviewed loquats several times on the channel. Okay, so let's talk about the African Shadic. So this, I believe, is a type of pomelo or very closely related to the pomelo. And as mentioned earlier, this was given to me by Stephen Murray, who you may recognize from my videos. I'm going to reach down and get a cutting board and cut this. I'm cutting... This looks kind of terrible, doesn't it? I am cutting a pomelo, everybody. Do snozberries taste like snozberries? Yes, they do, Lars. Yes, they do. Thank you for the super chat. There is the inside of the African Shadic. Where does it grow? I don't know what that is. Sleepy Sue. Need full questions, unfortunately, because this thing kind of flies by really quickly. I can't really answer questions in unless it's like a full complete sentence, because I don't have the ability to kind of like trace the full conversation. I just have to see it in one go. Miranda's learning. Thank you so much. Do you know anything about nutmeg cultivation in the USA? I'm interested in topical tree cultivation in Midwest greenhouses. I don't know. I've not heard of anybody growing nutmeg in the US. Maybe someone out there is growing it in like Homestead, Florida, or something. But I have not heard of it being grown here. But I don't grow plants. I just eat fruit. So maybe someone else in the comments will be able to answer that for you. But that is a good question. I should probably find out. If someone's growing that here, I should probably meet them. Okay, so here we go. Got a nice little wedge. Let's try the African Shadic. And before I even take a bite of this, that's not what I'm saying. Throat's a little dry. Before I even take a bite of this, this thing smells incredible. Before I even opened it, it's got such like a strong floral, sweet, like pomelo, grapefruit kind of smell to it. And like earlier, I noticed just like my hands smelled amazing, and it's just from like holding this. Like when I got it from Steven, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Okay. And then later I'm like, my hands smell great. And it's just like a really, really powerful fruit that even like touching it, you get that that grapefruit kind of smell. Okay, so let's. I see more super chats. I will get to you in a second, Andrea. Thank you very much. But let me not build any more suspense here. Just a little bit more. Okay, sorry. It's pretty good. It's like somewhere between a grapefruit and a pomelo. It's not as bitter as a grapefruit would be, but it's not as sweet and mild as a pomelo is. Pomelos are kind of like grapefruit, but like far sweeter and less harsh. This is kind of like somewhere between the two. Also has some tartness to it. It's pretty good. But yeah, tartness on this is like a 6, a little bit more than an orange. And sweetness is maybe a 4. Not super sweet, but pretty good. I think if you're like someone who likes grapefruit, I would eat this like grapefruit. Maybe put a little bit of sugar on it to bring out that sweetness. But it's not as bitter as a grapefruit would be. And a little bit more sour than a grapefruit. That's interesting. But yeah, it's I don't think I've ever had this before. So yeah, thank you to Stephen Murray for giving this to me. African Shadic. Not sure if there's anything else to say about it. Yeah, I was considering making an episode about it, but I think if I were to do that, I would probably have to cook it, make something with a peel or something like that. Earlier, I was baking something, and I put a little bit of the peel in it just because it's such a fragrant, nice smelling rind to it. But I don't have time. After making that nutmeg video, I don't have time to do any like long cooking episodes where I'm going to be filming. I'm editing right now. I'm in full editing mode, trying to get these videos from Indonesia up. Okay, so I got Andrea. Thank you for the super chat. Hi from Brooklyn. Hello. Happy holidays to you and yours. Thanks for all the fruitful content. Oh, well, thank you so much, Andrea. Really appreciate that. Happy holidays to you as well. And to everybody watching, happy holidays. It's coming up hot, isn't it? It's already the 22nd. Oh, man. And Christmas is only 3 days away. Do you have, this is YG. Thank you for the super chat, YG. Do you have a number one candidate for fruits that taste better dried? Oh, that's a good question. I think if I were to sit down and think about that more, I could probably give you a better answer. But off the top of my head, I'm thinking about what is that called? It's a little persimmon. I made a video about the lotus persimmon. The lotus persimmon. Lotus persimmon on its own, it's fine. You got to blet them a lot. You got to make sure they're like really, really soft and squishy. And they're all right. But when they're dried out, there's like a little taste of like a stone fruit that comes out. It tastes like, I guess, like a dried persimmon would taste, like a sweet flavor, maybe a little bit of like a sweet potato kind of taste in there. But then there's this little cherry flavor that comes out, like a dark red fruit kind of flavor that is quite nice. So yeah, I didn't really like it so much fresh. I didn't really like it. I mean, straight off the tree, it would give you just dry mouth. But even like ripened to the point of being able to eat it, it's just sweet mush. But when you dry it out, a little extra flavor comes out. So that one comes to mind. I'm sure there are a lot of other ones that, I off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to think about it. I've had a lot of fruit, guys. I've had a lot. Okay, let's take another question here. Griffin has a question. What is a new country that you really want to go to for fruit? So I feel like, every country's got something. And the thing that I've been doing a lot, though, I've been going to a lot of Southeast Asian countries. And I feel like part of that is just the familiarity of it. Like I know how to get around with Air Asia. Like I I kind of know, like, even with the different countries, I know where my layover airports are going to be. Just like, it's a little bit easier for me to do that. But I feel like I'm missing out. There's so much out there. And not all of it necessarily needs to be tropical either. So like I had a great time going to Nordic countries to find berries. Like there's so much fruit out there. Not all of it is like, a type of durian. There's a lot. And I think I would like to see maybe some more temperate fruit. Go to some, maybe like Central Asia would be really interesting. Go to like mountainous areas. That'd be really interesting. Saying that, I think my next trip is going to be to South America. There's a lot of South America I haven't seen. I'm not going to give away where I'm going to go, but I've been to Colombia and I've been to Bolivia, and that's it. So I'm really missing out. And there's a lot of interesting stuff that grows in South America that's not anywhere else. Seeing more of the Amazon would be really interesting. So South America is high on the list, and also more of Africa. I've been to a few countries in Africa, like North Africa. I've been to East Africa, but I have not been to West Africa. And there's a lot of really cool stuff in West Africa. So I think that would be really interesting. I'm not really pinpointing like an exact country yet, but just like regions of the world that are very different than other regions, I think would be cool. So Central Asia, West Africa, more South America. Yeah. A lot of little islands. Like some islands are just like in the middle, like on their own, and you find some things that will grow on an island that won't grow anywhere else. Like the Seychelles, I found some really cool stuff there. Those are areas where maybe I would find more like singular episodes to make, like do a deep dive on something if I went to islands. Just because they're small. I'd maybe like find an island that has like one thing and only there, and do a deep dive. I think that would be another direction to go. Yeah, my goal is to make like at least one new country every year is kind of like how I do things. At least one, and then maybe a second one. Vivian said, "Welcome to Durian Tier." So Vivian is one of the YouTube members, so you get to highlight your comments, and you also get emojis too. Vivian, put a durian emoji up there or something. That's like one of the perks of joining YouTube memberships. That it's only on YouTube memberships is that you get to use special emojis that in specifically live streams you can use them on videos. But I think the big selling point is when I do a live stream, you can throw those up. So all my members out there, use those emojis. Make those durians shine. Do you keep in? This is optimizing everything. Do you keep contact with friends you meet on your fruit travels? Yeah, yeah, I do. I mean, maybe at least on social media, I do. I've been talking a little bit with. Thank you, Vivian, for putting the durian up. I've been talking a little bit with Wasna and Tino, who was one of my guides in K Bazaar. He has been commenting a little bit on YouTube here. So yeah, I'm trying. I try to keep in touch. I always give my information. Not everybody, wants to wants to follow up, over the years, but I do keep in touch with a lot of people. Yeah. Uh, let's see here. Do you have plans to visit Joe in Hawaii? Joe used to be a big Patreon supporter, big fruit grower in Hawaii. I haven't been to Hawaii yet. I've actually been to 47 of the U.S. states, I think. Yeah, I haven't been to Hawaii. I haven't been to Alaska, and I haven't been to, I think, one of the Dakotas. Whichever one doesn't have Mount Rushmore in it. I haven't been to that one. So I haven't been to 3 states in the United States, and one of them is Hawaii, and I need to fix that. So that is on my list. On my list of things to do is to go to Hawaii sometime. But I haven't done it yet. The problem with going to Hawaii is that I know that if I go to Hawaii, I'm going to get so many videos, so many videos, which is like it's a blessing and a curse when that happens. Like I went to Australia like 2 years ago now, maybe over 2 years ago now, and I think I filmed like 100 different things. You haven't seen them yet because I am overwhelmed. There's just so many. There's just so many things that I found there that I want to, do it proper. I want to make sure that I'm doing it right, and I want to give it enough time to give attention to it. But also, once we go in that world, we're not going out. We're not going out for a while. It's going to be like in that chapter for a long time because I do things one country at a time, and it's a little bit overwhelming. So that's why I haven't done those yet, and that is why I'm kind of hesitant to go to Hawaii, just because I have a backlog that is just maybe 2 years or 3 years long. I've got material to last years, guys. It's a lot. I'm at a total bottleneck. I can't edit them fast enough. And as I edit, I film more. And so I'm kind of focusing more on ways to flesh out what I already have, and also find things like that I can go like a deep dive on. So going to Indonesia, excuse me, 2 times to follow up on nutmeg was not really a mistake. Also, it's also a little bit more appealing for me to go and focus on one thing at this point because I have so much content. I'd rather like make big videos that are really interesting than have like a ton of like little ones. So I need to need to pace myself a little bit. So I will go to Hawaii. I swear I will go to Hawaii, but I'm kind of waiting for the opportunity. It might take me getting like a gig in Hawaii for me to go to Hawaii, but it will happen. If you Sergeant Groove, now you got your question there. Because you didn't get a question earlier. If I go to Hawaii, find Fei bananas. They're very bizarre cultivars. I found the Fei bananas in the Maluku Islands. I found them. Fei bananas are crazy looking. They're like this long. They're huge, and like they're bright yellow and orange with like black line. They're really, really nifty looking. So I've got a video on Fei bananas that will be coming up within the next month, I think. And what I would like to do though is I would like to explore the Fei bananas more, because I found the Fei bananas at a market in Ambon City in the Maluku Islands, and I was staying at a hotel that did not have any means of cooking, so I wasn't able to cook them, and they are typically eaten cooked. So I've had the Fei bananas, but I let them ripen all the way, and I ate them raw. So it's not like the ideal way of doing it. I think cooking would be a way to kind of flesh that out more. So I still need to find those in Hawaii. I think there's a lot of bananas that I want to find, and Hawaii is a really good place to find bananas. I don't. Did I miss a super chat? No, I'm just thinking about the Vivian's comment being highlighted. Okay, so let me. I'm going to take a little break here to review some of these little guava species here for those who are just joining. I've got a few things here. I've got my African Shadic. Already had that, but here are some guava species. I'm still learning where my laptop camera is. I apologize. I keep like giving these weird shots, but these are a variety of different guavas or guava relatives. They are different species, and they were sent to me by Brian at raindanceseeds.com. And Brian didn't know the species off the top of his head of a few of these when I talked to him. So I don't know what they are, but I know that they're different species. They're not typical guavas. So if anyone out there knows more about this sort of thing than I do, and you know what these are from looking at them, leave a comment. But I will just take them as they are and compare them to your more typical guavas. Okay, so first let's take a look at this green one. Nice. Okay. And let's cut this carefully, trying not to doing this on a live stream is maybe risky. I'm going to do it down here. That's the last thing I need is to have my channel banned because I accidentally lopped off my thumb. Don't you like that? That's my concern, not the fact that I would have lopped off my thumb, but that it would ban my channel. That's where my priorities are. Lots of seeds in there. Looks like a typical guava. Very soft in there. Okay. Smells like a guava. Not really any different than a typical guava. That is a flavor that I recognize. I'm not sure what it is. Not just guava. There's guava in there, but there's something else. Guava, also like strawberries. That's good. Maybe a little like kiwi also. Kiwi, strawberries, and guava. It's a little bit like the feijoa also, which is called pineapple guava because it tastes like guava mixed with pineapples. Maybe I'm getting a little bit of pineapple in there too. I don't know what that was, but it was delicious. Very, very good. And thank you, Brian. So that's one. I got like, I think 3 or 4 different guavas in there. So let's do another one. This one is this is another reason why I didn't make an episode about them, is they didn't survive the trip super well. So this one looks a little crappy looking, but that's only because it was shipped in the winter time here. So it probably froze and defrosted along the way. Let's cut this off screen. Show the inside. It's got a very nice red color to it. Very vibrant. It doesn't look vibrant on my crappy laptop camera, but trust me, vibrant. It looks kind of like the coloring of like a cranberry. Right. Yeah, inside very white. Smells different. I want to say it smells a little bit like an African Shadic, but I think that's because I have a little bit of this on my fingers. Okay. Oh, really different. That's a little bit like apple. Like apple little like cranberry. Doesn't really have a strong guava taste, actually. Yeah, actually maybe tastes a little bit like this guy, like Hawthorne. And it's not because I'm drinking this. It's not a terribly strong flavor, but it's got a little bit of like a berry and apple kind of taste to it, which Hawthorne also has. Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to take a few more questions here. I thought we'd go for about an hour, so we got maybe like 10 minutes. I would love to answer more questions about the Nutmeg documentary that I made. So if anyone has more questions about that, that was a good time. But yeah, if you want to talk about other things, that's fine. That's fine. And for those who are interested in learning more about the Nutmeg saga, the long episode, now is a great time to join Patreon because or YouTube memberships also, because I have hours and hours and hours of footage that I think would be maybe not. Some of it is going to be made into separate side quest episodes. I've got like talking about different species of nutmeg and stuff like that. Those will be separate episodes. But some things are just not going to get used. They're not going to be posted. And that includes scenes that were completely deleted, things about the history, the full interviews with all the Wandan people. I don't think those are going to go up as episodes because that would not be good for the channel. Like it's not really fitting with the, I'm not going to use the word brand. It doesn't really fit with the theme of the channel. So because of that, those are just going to go on Patreon. So they're not going to go public. So there's going to be hours and hours of footage being posted on Patreon. So if you ever thought about joining Patreon, that is a good time because of all that. Also, I should mention this. So like Patreon is being a little bit annoying right now because it's not really their fault. It's because Apple, because they need to use Apple Pay as one of the payment methods. Apple kind of like put the thumb screws on them and is making them in order to use their system, if you pay with Apple Pay on Patreon, they give you like a crazy fee. It's like 30% or something insane on top of what you're paying. So if you sign up for Patreon, don't use Apple. Like even if you're an Apple user, like open up a browser and do it on your browser. It's a really annoying thing. It's a shame because like Patreon is a very, very useful thing, not just for me, but for creative types at all. Just to have a way to fund your art is so important. It's so hard to find that. It's such a valuable thing. And Apple is kind of screwing it up. So I'm not super happy with Apple doing that. But because of that, they are doing two things. They're doing this fee if you pay with Apple Pay. So do not pay with Apple Pay if you join Patreon for me or anybody else. I say don't use Apple Pay at all because like that's kind of sucks that they're doing that. It's like a crazy fee. It's like really, really high. So don't. And the other thing that they're doing is they're making anyone who does a per creation Patreon switch to subscription. So I'm a per creation, which means every time I post it's a long story, but that's how I did it originally. So I basically function like a monthly subscription with how I have things set up, but I am technically a per creation Patreon person, which means originally it would be like every time I'd post something, you would be dinged for like $1 or whatever you're giving. But now they don't do that anymore. Now it's only monthly subscriptions, and that is because of Apple. So Apple is making them stop doing the per creation thing, and now it's only by subscription. So because of that, I need to alter all my things. I need to alter it, and they are going to be switching things around. So as it goes, it's probably going to pretty soon become maybe not more expensive, but how do I put this? If you join now, it's going to be cheaper than if you join like in a few months because of what's going on. So I don't think it's just like how it's set up. So the best way to sign up right now is to go in, pretend you're not doing a per creation, but you're doing a per month, and do like a minimum amount. So I explain it on my Patreon channel. I'm not going to go into it on here because it's really boring. I know. I'm sorry. But long story short, if you ever considered joining Patreon or supporting me on Patreon or supporting anybody on Patreon, it's better to do it now. It's better not to use Apple Pay. And if you do it with my channel now, it'll be cheaper if you do it now. You can basically get a discount that you will not be getting if you sign up once this goes into effect. Right now, it's not in effect, but when it does go into effect, it's going to make things more expensive on my channel. So if you do it now, you'll be grandfathered in at a discounted rate. And also, I've got all these like Nutmeg videos. So right now, I'm posting commentaries on everything. So every video, I'm like explaining like, how did this happen? How did I meet this person? How did I do the stop motion animation? Like all that stuff is explained in the commentaries. I saw a few super chats. I'm going to answer those. I think I wanted to let me just give like a few fun things about the Nutmeg documentary that are just coming to mind here. One interesting thing is like once I get to the K Islands, that was very, very lucky. Okay, that was an extraordinarily lucky thing that happened because there are not a lot of tour companies in the K Islands. I found one on Google Maps, and that's Tino, who you see a little bit in that episode. But I couldn't find like anybody and Tino is from a different region. He's not that from there originally. So I didn't find anybody that actually spoke the old language. And it was very difficult to orchestrate everything. It was very difficult to find things. So Tino ended up helping me, but who really helped me a lot with like doing the translations because she spoke a little bit of the old Bandinese and finding the Bandinese nutmeg and finding a few other things you'll see coming in was Wasna. So the girl I interview, the young woman, she's married, but she's a young woman. She how she happened across me is I was staying at sitting on my terrace at the place I was staying at in Cape Cachil, the other island, not Cape Assar, but the other island where there are hotels. Cape Assar doesn't really have that many places to stay. So I was staying in Cape Cachil, and I'm just like sitting there, like drinking a coffee, and she walks along the beach, and she's like, "Hey, excuse me, do you mind if I ask you a few questions? I'm a university student, and I'm I'm trying to get practice with the English language." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, have a seat." So she sat down and she interviewed me for her project, and she just wanted to talk to me, and she was like just asking me like why I was there, and from that she's just like, "Oh, well, like I am a descendant of the original Bandinese people." I'm like, "Really? Can I interview you?" So after she interviewed me, I interviewed her, and she told me about like all this incredible stuff, and she is the one who introduced me to the cultural society where I interviewed those elders. She connected me with a lot there, and that was all because like she just happened to be walking by while I was drinking a coffee. And a lot of the like what happened in this episode, the Nutmeg episode, was just luck. Even like finding out that the Wandan people still existed. I didn't even know the name Wandan. Like people don't talk about this. Like if you know what to look for, you can find information about it. But if you just look for Nutmeg history, you do not find this stuff anywhere. But I found that from interviewing Abba, who I had to chase. He's the guy who was in the Banda Islands, who I interviewed him a little bit in the Banda Islands. I didn't know anything about the Wandan people. I didn't know that name until he told me about it. And that is from interviewing him. And I almost didn't interview him because he was a very, very busy man. He was a very busy man. So I had to chase him around for like days before I got him to sit down to do the interview. And even then, I only got the interview because I was going to go somewhere else and my boat got delayed. So I ended up staying in the Banda Islands longer than I intended to. I managed to get that interview. I managed to find out the name Wandan. I managed to find information about the Wandan people, all from that. So it is a lot of what happened was like very, very lucky. Very, very lucky. I don't know what the video would have been without the help of Abba, without Wasna, without Tino. They really like shaped this. And in future episodes, you'll see more. You'll see more of like the cool things they introduced me to in other fruit. There's gonna be other videos about fruit, other plants, and some of it's really cool. And it's just from like talking to people. I didn't know this stuff going in. There's very, very little information about this part of the world. If you go on Google Maps, look at K Bazaar, you will find like nothing on that. You don't even see roads. It is a very remote place. So because of that, I had to go there not knowing what I would find and just talk to people. I was like really expecting just to do like B-roll and do a voiceover with what I learned, but instead I ended up finding this incredible thing. Yeah. So as I say, like in the documentary too, like I was not expecting it to be this. I was just expecting to get like a sound bite of maybe like the language, but instead I ended up finding all this extra stuff, and that is all from that help that people gave me. So yeah. Okay, so I wanted to say that because I don't think I give them, trying to keep that video under 2 hours was hard. So I ended up cutting out a lot of stuff, and I feel like I can't thank them enough for what they did. Okay, I think I missed a few super chats. I'm going to answer these super chats, and then we are going to wrap things up. But first, let me review this a little bit more. It's good. Sergeant Groove, thank you so much, Sergeant Groove. It's a few super chats from you. I really appreciate that. If you end up in Africa again, do you plan on consuming Annona? Don't make me say that. Annona stenophila or Annona senegalensis, the orange custard apple, and other Annona? And have I ever encountered a Degracia? Good questions. Yeah, I would love to find more Annona fruits. Annonas are one of my favorite things. That's like custard apple, sugar apple, soursop, all that stuff. Those are all Annona fruits. They're one of my favorite things. I guarantee you, if I go to West Africa, I'm going to look for those things. One thing I'd really love to find, that I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, it's called a jungle sop. It might be one of the things that you just told me about. Maybe that's stenophila. I don't know. But jungle sop looks like a soursop, which are usually like this big, but it's like this big. It's huge, absolutely huge. And if you look it up, there are the same 2 photos of jungle sop online, and nobody reviewing it, nobody talking about it, besides like just a few text things. There's so little information about it that is one that I really, it's not my white whale, but it's a gray whale. It's like, it's up there. It's one of my whales. And have I encountered Guatia? Yeah, funny story with that. When I was in Laos, I found the Cadsura heteroclita, which often is confused with Deguacia. For those that don't know, this is like, a lot of people ask if I ever like, oh, you're eating the devil fruit. No, this is devil fruit. Okay, it looks like this thing. It's like this big, of like little keyed in fruits, like in a ball. It's wild looking, really, really wild looking. So Cadsura is kind of like that, and Deguacias are kind of like that. I found the Cadsura. They grow in similar areas too. I found the Cadsura. I reviewed it long ago. The Deguacia, I found it, but I found it on a shrine at a restaurant. So I went to a restaurant, and they had like a little shrine to their elders. And like in Buddhism, they put fruit as an offering to their elders. They put a Deguacia on the altar. I've been looking for it too, and I was just like, well, I think it would be like a faux pas for me to like even offer to buy this from them, because it wasn't theirs anymore. It was their ancestors. So I let it go. I took a video of it. I took a little video of the I picked it. I asked if I could pick it up, and I filmed it a little bit. And that is in my Lao coffee video, which nobody's seen. No, it's not even a fruit episode, but I show that because I found it in a place where I found Laotian coffee, which is a very special thing. So Laotian coffee is really interesting, and I managed to find the Deguacia at a shrine, or on a shrine in that coffee shop. Good question. Good question. Ex Machina, thank you very much for the super chat. What was the deal with the red pepper cat? LOL. So that cat, for anyone who didn't see it, I posted a video today of a special piper species. So it's related to black pepper. Related to, a lot of people online have been saying, no, that's a long pepper. Long pepper is like this long. It looks a lot like long pepper, only it's this long. Very, very long, bright red peppercorn, like thing of peppercorns. And I found that on a volcano, on the Banda's volcano. And I had a co-host, a cat came over and meowed the entire time. That cat was on my terrace like every day. And don't worry, she got plenty of pets. She got plenty of treats. That is why she kept coming to my terrace. And when I filmed Abba, who I mentioned earlier, another reason why you don't see a lot of his interview in the Nutmeg video is because half of the time it's meow, meow, meow in the background. She was meowing the whole time. And yeah, since we were kind of talking about some rather dark subject matter, I felt like having a cat meowing while we're talking about a genocide might not be really appropriate. So I ended up cutting out a lot of the material with the cat. But yeah, she was there. She was present. She will probably at least be making a few comments in future episodes. But yeah, that pepper one is the one where she really was trying to be involved. But adorable. I think she was pregnant. When you travel, you see cats everywhere, and the cats that will come up to you and ask for food, usually pregnant. Otherwise, they usually run away. But pregnant cats, I think they depend on the kindness of strangers. And by the way, I should say, Indonesia, people really take care of the cats. Maybe not everywhere, but where I went, people were feeding the cats. And in Jakarta, I love Jakarta. Excellent place. There are even like areas where you see a sign that would say like cat feeding area. So people are not feeding the cats everywhere, but so many people feed the cats that they try to like keep it to a certain area. That way, you especially see it like near like subways and stuff. So they're not feeding the cat inside the subway. You feed it like outside to the side. But just the fact that they set up areas for people to feed cats is very sweet. More places should do that. The Lost Librarian said, I loved watching your videos for years. Oh, thank you so much. We look forward to you coming to Australia to try some of the native fruits. Oh, well, thank you very much. And thanks for the super chat. I actually went to Australia already. I mentioned a little bit earlier. I have not posted the videos yet just because there are just so many videos to post that I'm a little overwhelmed with it. But those will be coming soon. I think for the future of the channel, I'm going to be posting all the things I found in Indonesia just recently. So everything I found in Banda, everything I found in K. I also went to Indonesian Borneo, Kalimantan, twice. On both trips, I went there to go to different places to check out different markets. And I will be posting those as well. So I found a lot of stuff in Indonesia. But after those are done, so in a few months, I will be going into Australia. And that's going to be a big one. A lot of stuff in Australia, some really cool stuff in Australia, some things that were trying to kill me in Australia, plants and animals and otherwise. But yeah, there's like one video where I am like in an area there where there's like wild cassowaries going around, which are like, they're a giant bird. Imagine like an ostrich mixed with a velociraptor. They kill you by scratching your stomach apart with their back claw on their feet. They are terrifying and they're huge. And they were like all over the place. So these things are around, keeping an eye on me, trying to kill me. And the plant that one of the videos I'm going to make is on the Gimpy Gimpy. And it's one where like if you touch it, it will just make your hand break out in horrible, horrible burns and hives. Here's a cat, everybody. She, I think, went over there to eat, and now she's back. So yeah, a lot of things are trying to kill me in Australia. Stephen and I accidentally ate something poisonous in Australia. Look forward to that. I blame Stephen for that, but I'm not gonna. I don't want to spoil it. There's a lot of interesting things coming in Australia. But thank you very much. Thank you. And YG, thank you for the super chat. How long did the stop motion animation take you? Thank you for asking that question. I'm new to stop motion. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm kind of figuring things out as I go. And the bits that you see with like the little stuffed animal flea and the little stuffed animal plague bacteria, that I think was the first thing I shot. And with that, I was doing things like basically just taking my camera and taking a photo, moving, and then stitching all the photos together because I didn't know what I was doing. So I did that. And the thing with stop motion is it takes so long to do. And I'm kind of like figuring it out as I go, that once I do it, I'm not doing it again. Like that's it. I've had to do that before. In the Chalmugra episode, I had to completely reshoot things, and it took me like days because I had to reshoot everything. That's a different story. But it takes a long time, and doing it that way was taking a long time. It took me hours to do that little thing with the stuffed animals. But as you may notice watching it, the footage looks pretty good quality, because I'm using my high-end camera. But it's in autofocus mode, so it keeps flashing as it goes. So it kind of like changes. It's adjusting for lighting, and that's why it's kind of flashy for that bit. So I looked at that. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that again, but let me try to fix it for the next thing I do. So I got stop motion software, and that one is different. So you're not taking a photo each time, which kind of jerks your camera and changes the lighting, but instead it's hooked up to my laptop, and then you just have to press the space bar, and that takes a photo. So it's a little bit cleaner that way. It keeps the lighting static. So that's why the beginning bit and the other parts of like the little figures fighting the Bandinese and what have you, those are not flashy the same way, but you may notice the quality is a lot lower, and that is because I didn't realize it until later, but the software that I was using a trial version. So if I were to have paid for it, it would have been like in 1080p, but instead it's in 720p because I didn't pay for the paid version. I didn't realize it until after. So that's why it's a little bit grainier than that one bit. The bit with like the little figures moving, the colonists showing up to the Band Islands, hours and hours. The stop motion at the beginning with the nutmeg bleeding, start to finish in one day. And that involved getting Play-Doh. I got Play-Doh. I made the pigment that I wanted. I figured out this little rigging with the wire and put that on there and made the Play-Doh drip down. So it may not be noticeable when you are watching because it happens so fast, but that's like so many frames, so many frames. And in every frame, I am changing at least 3 things. So you've got like, got an example. So we've got the nutmeg, the mace on the top. I'm animating that to drip down, and also adding more to it to continue it dripping down. So I am slowly moving it down into like little drips. And I have it on that wire framework that is really holding it up. And I've got these little teeny wires going up that connect to the drops and drop it. And I would go and grab it, but I don't know where it is. I might make a behind the scenes on Patreon for any of the Patreons watching, or maybe I'll do it in a separate stream if you guys remind me. So yeah, it's one point of animation is the mace on top. Then we've got 2 bars bringing the drips down. And as I'm doing that, how water drips is that first it falls off long. So the drip is long, like a long teardrop coming down. And then as I move it down, I'm animating that drip to move down, but also to shorten, like gravity is catching up with it. And I'm doing that 2 times. So I've got 2 going up and down. And then I have the pool of blood on the table that is spreading out. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 spreading out. And it's just like little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit going all the way down. And I had no idea if that was going to work. I didn't know what it was going to look like because, I don't really have a great know-how of how to do this. This is like my first attempt of trying something very difficult with stop motion. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what it's going to look like until the end. So it felt like magic. Like stop motion is like the closest thing to like real magic that you can do because like especially when you do it this way where you're just kind of like brute forcing your way through. It's because I'm like moving all these drips down and doing this thing. And I'm like, this might look terrible when I'm done. So I do this for like hours and hours, like maybe 6 hours of me like just moving these little things down and then panning the camera and then having the nutmeg spell out nutmeg, or have the Play-Doh spell out nutmeg and like float across. There's maybe like 6 hours or so in one shot. And once you start, it's kind of hard to stop. Something might fall over. My cat might go and like try to eat it. You don't know. So I was doing all that, and then at the end, I push play to watch it back, and I'm like, it worked. It worked. It was like magic, like really like magic. And this is not me like showing up. I really had no idea what I was doing. I just like I've said before on the channel, I kind of like the aesthetic of trying really hard to do something you don't know how to do. And that is a good example. Like I'm brute forcing my way through stop motion. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm trying. Like I tried really hard to make that look good, but I didn't really know what it was going to look like until I was done. And I couldn't be happier. That's really a very difficult stop motion. And just the idea of how to get it to bleed like that, that is just a thought that I had. I feel maybe in retrospect, maybe I was subconsciously influenced a little bit by the animation in Pink Floyd's The Wall, because I saw a clip of it recently. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that kind of like inspired me without me really realizing it. But like Pink Floyd's The Wall, there's this incredible animation scene where they're talking about I think World War II. And there's a Union Jack on a pole, like Britain's flag, and the bits, like the blue parts of the Union Jack, fall off, like flower petals falling off, and then it's just left with like a crucifix, and that turns red and it bleeds down, and it looks really cool. And I wonder if like maybe there's like a little bit of inspiration there. I didn't think about it at the time, but like now that I've since seen that, like maybe that was like in my subconscious. And what was really helpful to make that stop motion, because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. I was coming up with different ideas on how to animate like in the air. Like I wanted that thing to be floating, to have it dripping down. And I was coming up with just like with a sketchbook, like coming up with different ideas of how to do it. And what I was originally going to do, and I almost did it this way, is I was going to take like a shoebox and put a pane of glass in it and paint the inside of the shoebox black and stick the nutmeg to that and have the mace come down and then the drips come down by sticking it to the glass. So you wouldn't see the glass. It would kind of look like it was floating. That was like my first like thought. So I planned out, like I storyboarded it that way. And I was about to like go and get that, but I was like, well, let me learn a little bit more about stop motion. Maybe I should look at some YouTube videos. And I found one channel. I think his name is Gildies. He's an incredible stop motion animator. If you look up like stop motion on YouTube, he'll show up. He's incredible, very very good. And he had he does like little tutorials, and he had one that was about he had a faucet, just like standalone faucet, like on a stand. and he was stop motioning like purple liquid coming out of it. Very similar to what I was trying to do, just like animating liquid in the air. And I didn't really like how he was doing it, because he was using like stop motion supports. So if you watch like anything like Nightmare Before Christmas or Coraline or anything like that, Memoirs of a Snail, if you see any of those things, how they're moving everything is they have like these frameworks that they're using, and they're holding things up, and they're making everything move. So you have like the little Jack Skellington running. In reality, they're using like all these like metal armatures to like hold the body parts together as he's moving. And then after they do all of that filming, they go through and they Photoshop out the armature, like frame by frame, or they use like programs that you lay them on each other and you can like mask out the armature. And that's what Gildies was doing. I apologize, it's not actually his YouTube name. So he was doing it that way, like he was photoshopping it out, and I think that ruins it. Like I what he's doing is amazing. Like his tutorials were very helpful, just to get like the physics of the drops like getting smaller. I got that from looking at him, but that is like photoshopping out the wires. I thought would make people think it was like CGI or like I'm using just like Photoshop. It felt like cheating. I kind of like the hands-on effect of like having the wires like in shot, and also like not using like the more professional armatures and using just like regular thin wire to hold it up, which is what I did. I think makes it look cool. Like I don't know. I like it with the wires. So that was one decision that I made. Okay, guys, I have been talking for about an hour and 23 minutes. I just want to check if there are any super chats that I missed. Otherwise, I'm going to take one more question, and then I will close things up. I did. Okay. Josh Ward, thank you very much for the super chat. Have I considered trying any more specific types of wild blueberry species? There's very little info on the taste of less common species. I've tried a few different blueberry species, and most of those were in Nordic countries. There's one that I wanted to try to find that I couldn't find, was something called the bog bilberry. Couldn't find it, but that was one I really wanted to try. If it's a different species and I see that it's available and I find it, then I will absolutely review it. The difficult thing is that, just knowing what's what. So I'd have to be traveling with somebody who knows what it is, or I would have to go to a collector that's growing it, because my know-how of how to tell like one blueberry from another is pretty limited. In Finland, when I went to Finland, I managed to find a few, and that's just from like doing a lot of research ahead of time. And I found maybe like 3 different blueberries there. Good question. Yeah, I think like I'm trying to find like every fruit, in the world, every species. And I think a lot of it's going to be, if I do that successfully, if I find every fruit, which I won't, but in order to do that, I'm going to have to meet with people who are working on species, like collecting the species in order to do it. And blueberries, there's so many that is one where I'm going to have to go to like a place that's researching it. Is that Cultel says, welcome to the Aki tier. Thank you very much. Everybody who is a YouTube member, you are able to make emojis and highlight yourself there. So use those emojis, guys. I like seeing those little durians pop up. Nick Reed, thank you very much for the super chat. Your videos introduced me to the enormous world of fruit. Well, that's really good to hear. I hope that's like what I'm hoping with this channel, is that by making all these videos, it will, help spread the word of all the diversity of plant life out there, but also encourage people to go out and try something new. So that's great to see. Thank you, Nick. Let me just take a little look here. Then we're back to the stop motion question. That was a great question, YG. Thank you. Blueberries. Okay. I'll take one more if that's the end of the super chats. Dennis, does your channel pay for itself by going around the world? as the years go on, this channel is becoming like a main source of income for me. So it's through the support that I get on Patreon and YouTube members that I can go on these trips. And I do get a little bit of revenue from the ads as well. So all that together, like and selling T-shirts. I sell T-shirts. Occasionally I do tours, like all that stuff. That is what keeps the channel going. So yeah, it's not. It would be extraordinarily expensive to do this. It's not like if I were to do this out of pocket, like going to Southeast Asia 3 times to make the nutmeg video. That was made possible thanks to the support that I get. So yeah, to all, good question. Thanks everybody. Thank you Patreon supporters. Thank you YouTube members. And thanks everybody for tuning in for the live stream. I'm thinking of doing these a little bit more often. I know I keep saying that, but maybe the next one will be in a month. The idea is to do it like once a month, but life catches up with you. So it's a little bit less, but thanks everybody. And everyone have a great evening. Have a great day. If you're somewhere else, happy holidays. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.